Today at ET Infra's Aviation Connect, we're joined by Jean-Pierre, Head of Commercial Asia Pacific at regional aircraft manufacturer ATR, a joint Franco-Italian venture. ATR aircraft in India are operated by IndiGo, Alliance Air, and newcomer Fly 91, and are playing a very key role in undertaking regional air connectivity in the country. Jean-Pierre talks about how the government's UDAN scheme has become a great enabler for undertaking air connectivity in the country and has emerged one of a unique kind initiative globally. He also talked about ATR's future plans in India in terms of aircraft deliveries and other ecosystems, as well the potential of the South Asian market as a whole. So thank you, Mr. John Pierre, for connecting us out here at ET Infra's Aviation Connect. It's a pleasure to have you out here at the show. To
Pleasure to be
begin
here.
with, give us a brief in terms of your India operations. How is it going? You have a good presence in India in terms of the regional connectivity. How is it going for you?
Yeah, we've been in India, for a while now. I mean, over 20 years. Now. Today, you have, I would say, two main carriers that are operating ATRs. You have Alliance Air, who has been, when the privatization of Air India happened, I mean, it stayed as a state-owned company. Today has 20 ATRs, including 242s connecting Shimla, Kulu in the north. And then, of course, you have IndiGo, which is our largest customer, I mean, in India. That today has 45 aircraft flying and 5 more to be delivered by the end of the year.
Right. And what is the pipeline that sort of you're looking at it? Because I do understand ATR sees India is a huge market, at least for the regional aircraft.
Yes.
So what is the pipeline? What is the other pipeline? What is the potential that you're looking at?
So if I look, so today, I mean, if you look at that, so we have 65 aircraft flying, 2 coming additional, with Flight 91, which is a new startup, I mean, that is just initiating their operation over the next couple of weeks, next few weeks. I mean, it's coming up. I mean, I don't have the exact dates actually. I mean, when this is going to happen, and so yeah, with that, I mean, we'll be probably reaching probably over 70 aircraft flying in India by the end of this year. Of course, I mean, the potential of the market is much bigger. I mean, it's, I mean, the government has been extremely proactive in trying to promote new connectivity in the country. The VGF UDAN scheme, I mean, has been, I think, one, if I may, I mean, one of the world-class, solution, I mean, proposed by the government to promote that. And we see a lot of, adoption, in the country for this thing. So the runway in terms of, adding this kind of operation and connectivity is really growing fast. And what strikes me, I mean, in the country is, I mean, the first time I went to India, I mean, I saw, of course, New Delhi, I saw Mumbai, I saw Hyderabad, like probably everybody that goes to do business in the country. But once I start to see, I mean, a bit on the countryside, I mean, I was surprised about the size of the cities, actually. I mean, of cities I had never heard the name. And when we start to investigate, I mean, there are like 300-400 cities above 100,000 inhabitants. And so the wealth of India, I think it's not only, I mean, those metros, it's what's beyond that. It's the countryside, it's the people, I mean, growing crops, it's the people, like the traders and all that. And I think the depth of the country in that is immense. So the potential as well, I think, for better connectivity in the region as well is huge. And with the government's support, kind of supporting, taking out risk for people to start operation, I think we will see more and more, I would say, actors in that segment. And so for me, if I look at the next, say, 5-10 years, I mean, we will see in between 50 to 150 more aircraft ATRs coming into the country. That's what we see as a market. I would tend to be even more optimistic. I'm a salesperson. I mean, I'm stunned every day about the energy that there is in the country. I mean, the entrepreneurial spirit, of the aviation community, and I suspect we will see much more than that. But okay, let's be, I mean, grounded and aim actually for that. That would be already a huge benefit for the country to be able to connect communities all around.
So let me then begin with my, next query to you.
Yeah.
You talked about the UDAN scheme. Now, obviously, you talked about, as a salesperson, you would like to be more optimistic. I'm quite sure the UDAN scheme that has been, launched by the government of India would have been much more a sort of a marketing opportunity for you. Like we discussed, the UDAN scheme also has a sort of potential for connectivity in India's northeast. You are a regional aircraft manufacturer. If you could give us a brief in terms of the whole northeast connectivity, and also the other regions in India, especially among the Himalayas regions. What's the potential of the ATR aircraft, and plus what are the challenges, because infrastructure also has to come up in order to support this aircraft, regional aircraft. So how's that panning out?
So I think, I mean, again, the UDAN and VGF scheme is also, I mean, gold standard. I mean, in my mind, because I mean, how some countries, I mean, we tend to give money like a PSO, which the government basically pays for a service.
Right.
I think the idea of the VGF and UDAN is to take out the risk of or share the risk of a new carrier starting on your new routes, which I think is a much smarter way, I mean, to do that, because you're not intervening directly, you're encouraging people. And so again, with the demography and the geography of the country, I mean, there are still a lot to do. Of course, I mean, it's not realistic to think that from one day to the other, I mean, you'll have everything covered. I think there is probably 5, 10, 15 years, I mean, for the market to grow, I mean, to the potential size it has. Particularly that, I mean, the country is so big and there are so much of those cities that, I mean, like developing infrastructure on the ground, highways or railways will take time. And I think that's the aircraft can propose an interesting alternative, I mean, in terms of connecting the city in an efficient way, in an economical way, and probably in a convenient way, I mean, because I mean, aircraft can be, if you're going on a small airport to a bigger city, it's quite easy, I mean, to step in and step out of the aircraft at that kind of size. And so in that sense, I think, I mean, those are the great opportunities we have out there. I think in terms, and even more than the UDAN and the VGF, I think Give City has been also a great way, I mean, I think to facilitate, funding, and it will be very interesting to see how in the coming years, I mean, this is going to bloom and become actually a platform that is promising to be. I think the regulatory aspects and framework when it comes to funding as well is becoming more relaxed and a bit more embracing, I mean, some of the stuff that we're seeing on the markets. So I think that's going to help a lot, I mean, in bringing more capacity in the markets.
So I would like to now sort of know in terms of the broader South Asia region, if we now just sort of include India as well.
Yeah,
I understand that you have an order from Maldives. So how do you see the South Asia region itself? Because the connectivity within the South Asian countries, sort of will become a sort of broader base for the ATR company, because this is such a huge potential market. It's a huge potential market. So just talk about the broader South Asia. How is it panning out?
No, I think, I mean, South Asia, and that's interesting, I mean, people put Asia Pacific sometimes in one box. It was very diverse and contrasted, I mean, fate on Asia Pac. And if I look at, some of the markets have been were a bit longer to recover. I mean, for instance, we haven't seen, in Southeast Asia, all the tourism back from China yet. But if you look at South Asia, I mean, it's stunning to see that it was only shortly affected by the COVID, and it bounced back extremely fast. And the market today, if you look at, the 1,000 aircraft that were ordered last year, sorry, in India, I mean, it shows that, I mean, South Asia and India in particular is the place to be, and the main markets, I mean, focus of all the actors, I mean, today in the coming years. And South Asia at large is, as well, I mean, in the same gist of, obviously, Maldives or Bangladesh don't have the same size of markets than India. So we see dynamism, but at their scale.
Right. But also because the market in terms, because if you have operation, let's say in Bangladesh and then now Maldives, but these are also, countries which have good, sort of connections with India in terms of, whether
Yes.
it's tourism, whether it is relatives visiting. So that in itself, the market sort of comprehensively sort of emerges a huge one for you.
No, it is. And you look at, in Bangladesh, we have a couple of carriers operating ATRs. The fleet is, or 3 carriers actually. I mean, the fleet is reaching about 20 aircraft there. In Maldives, I mean, they have started the operation to change and refleet their operations with ATRs from Dash 8s. And so we're seeing that actually, I mean, very active. They're very proactively pursuing that. In Nepal as well, we have a few carriers over there, including Buddha Air, I mean, who's been a long-timer operator and doing a great job connecting as well communities. And as a matter of fact, I think they are looking at, ways to do even more on the regional level. Even Bhutan, has ATRs because it's again well adapted, into the geography of the country.
Right. So I would like to come, the next part of it. In terms of the whole manufacturing,
Yes.
I understand one of your shareholders in Airbus. Now, Airbus in the recent 2-3 years have made huge announcement in terms of setting up at least the FAL, the final assembly line. One is for the transport aircraft, another one is supposed to come for the helicopter services. And second part of it, that they're also sourcing a lot of components from India, with a lot of Indians, MSME or manufacturing companies. How's ATR sort of, in terms of coming in from the manufacturing point of view? Because the market in terms of the delivery or the supply of aircraft, sales of aircraft, India and the broader region is there. That definitely is on top of your mind. But how you're sort of in the manufacturing part of it, do you have any plans for India?
So if we talk about, our footprint in terms of as a company in the markets in India, I think, well, there is the customer support. And I would say, ATR, we're not, the big giants of Boeing and Airbus. And so we have actually, some presence already in many of the markets because we've been there for a long while. So in India, for instance, we have already a customer support center. There are flight simulators, to train the pilots. There is like MRO, there's a couple of MROs doing ATR. So there is an ecosystem already that is present there. And for sure, as we look at the markets, really growing in the coming years, we need to be there, supporting that in terms of customer support. So, we need to probably scale up that thing and supporting the ecosystem to grow beyond what it is today. And that's something that we are actually paying a lot of attention to, and we will probably focusing a lot. There is the other dimension that you mentioned about what Airbus is doing, which is fantastic. I think we see that as a great opportunity. I think everybody, now, over the last 10, 15 years, people are seeing, India as a powerhouse, both from an industry perspective, but also from a scientific perspective. So, you guys have very high quality engineers, very smart people, actually strong, universities. And so you are churning out, an extremely talented, generation of engineers and technicians. And it will be crazy and foolish for us not to be banking on that. So we're looking at all opportunities. And because this is something that could benefit, us and the market, in India.
But are you sort of do you have any plans for making India a part of your broader, manufacturing supply chain?
We are assessing all the opportunities.
Right. Okay, that's good to know. So coming back to the to the India market itself, IndiGo is definitely one of your prime customers. Now, yes, you have Fly 91. Alliance Air has been there, with you for a long time. Give us a sense, what is the order pipeline you're seeing from these three airlines? How much is for IndiGo that you have already delivered, and what is the order backlog?
So IndiGo, they ordered 50 aircraft back in 2017. They have actually 45 delivered so far, and there's 5 more this year. So they are, in terms of, say specifics, when it comes to fleet plan, I think the best is, I cannot comment on the plan of the airlines, and I would think that the best is to talk to them. But as I said, I think the market is very buoyant, so there's a lot to do. And I think deploying capital, and investment in those sectors is very interesting these days because, you have a huge runway, for growth. So we're talking to a lot of different parties, to see, how we can get some concrete plans actually on this in place. But clearly, our assessment on the side of the market is based actually on those discussions, and as well on the perspective actually we've seen on the Indian market.
Right. Could you give us a brief in terms of your current manufacturing, capacity?
Yes.
How many factories you currently have, and what is the sort of, per year capacity that you have been able to churn out? Because I understand, supply chain issues are still going on. Even the, COVID pandemic is, has ended, but still the lingering effects of supply chain are still there.
Supply chain is an interesting topic. So we have one plant. So we've manufactured 36 aircraft last year, delivered actually. And when it comes to the coming years, actually, our aim is to go back to 80, by the end of the decade. Right. And I think, it's we need to be, as well, ambitious on these things. When we look at the market needs, that's great.
But has the, particularly for ATR, has the supply chain issues, which is sort of, impacting the broader global, aviation sector, for you, have you been able to come out of it, or there are some sort of, issues still lingering on?
We are restoring performance now, actually. So it's been something we've been engaging a lot our suppliers with over the last few years,
Right.
because I mean, we were not immune onto that, but I think a lot of work has been done with the suppliers. I mean, to restore the performance of their supply chain and our supply chain, so that we are able to deliver actually more aircraft and have a solid, plan moving forward.
Like, tell us about that Singapore Airshow. As we speak, you are
Yes.
actually in Singapore.
Yeah, I'm at the
How's
show.
the air
Sorry
show?
about the noise, actually.
No issues. So how's the air show has gone for you? Obviously, this is not the first time you're out there at Singapore Air Show, but overall, obviously, Singapore is one city that sort of, connects the West and the East, whether it's Asia or whether it's Europe. It's sort of that, sort of hub of a country out there. Tell us how's this air show has, panned out for ATR?
No, it's been great. I mean, I think, I mean, 2020 was the if I look at COVID, I mean, 2020 there was a ATR, like a Singapore Airshow that year, and yeah, I mean, there was not a lot of people that time because it was the beginning, and people said, okay, something is wrong. 2022, I mean, was supposedly the year of the comeback, but I have to say, I mean, we saw a lot of people, but compared to this year, and I think can say that, I mean, this is back to business, right, and back to normal. And we've seen a lot of people, suppliers, customers, financiers coming, and so we had quite an intense week so far. I mean, that's the first day that, I mean, it's a bit more quiet, to be honest. And so, yeah, a lot of ideas. I mean, business, I mean, propositions, business discussions as well. That were held here, and hopefully will materialize in the coming weeks and coming months.
Right. So how many orders or agreements have you been able to sort of finalize in Singapore Air Show? If you could disclose.
Orders actually, I mean, are announced usually at an air show. They are the fruits of, I mean, months of work. And so, I mean, those are the things that, we had done in the last stretch of the year, as a matter of fact, that were undisclosed because we didn't have the time to do so. And that's where we did this week when we finalized some of the contractual terms. But so we had, for instance, the first day we talked about Maldivian, who's taking 2 additional aircraft to refleet ATR 42s. We assigned an additional aircraft for Air Tahiti in the Pacific. We had also some announcements about Cebu, who's adding additional 2 aircraft that are taking from lessors. And then we had also Flight 91, which released, I mean, this announcement of the signing of 2 aircraft to grow their fleet.
Right. And my last question to you will be about the Chinese presence in the Singapore Air Show. The Comac C919 has sort of made its presence in Singapore Air Show. How are you seeing this Chinese competition that is coming up? Is it a sort of, will it be an intense competition in the years to come or in the decades to come for someone like ATR? Obviously, it's, placed against the sort of Boeing 737, but how you are looking into it?
So on the, I mean, so I'm not an expert, I'd say, but I mean, when I see about the ATR, I mean, we probably don't have the same, we're not facing, I mean, head on with the Chinese project. The C919 is much larger, I mean, it's probably more a single aisle, I mean, player. The ARJ21 is probably more, I mean, a regional jets kind of, I mean, competition. When it comes to the turboprop, I think, I mean, China having, I mean, in terms of demography, a lot of people in the east parts. I mean, it's very dense population, and they probably need larger, capacities. And so, on that sense, actually, I mean, we don't see that as a head-on threat. I mean, I think they're doing great stuff over there. I mean, they are. I mean, there's very, I would say, strong vision and very capable people. I mean, working on that, and so I think all the ecosystem should look very carefully at what's happening, and because I'm sure, I mean, they'll become a powerhouse in the coming years on this. But as far as we're concerned, we're a small aircraft manufacturer. I mean, doing small aircraft, and that's probably, I mean, not the main target, I think, of the Chinese companies.
All right. Thank you, Jean-Pierre. It was lovely having this interaction with you.
Same here. Thank you very much for the time.
Right. Thanks for taking your time out, connecting all the way from Singapore. It must be very hectic, days for you. And really appreciate it.
No, it's our pleasure. And sorry about the noise. I mean, I couldn't stop it.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
All the best for the future. Thank you.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Bye.